Elon Musk is still melting down over this reporting that Tesla has recently looked into replacing him as CEO. And while I think that that would undoubtedly help Tesla in the long term, there are apparently some reasons that actually replacing him would be quite difficult. And we're gonna turn to multiple different analysts, some of whom kind of seem a little bit sycophantic towards Musk. Others, I think, are just being real about how ridiculous the stock market and corporations are. But first of all, on Axios, they say if Musk is jettisoned against his will, the board risks upsetting his loyal followers, some of them customers and many of them investors. If he goes willingly and gives his blessing to his successor, it could ease the transition, which I guess is like, it's undoubtedly true, but why would that happen? Why does anyone think that Musk could be like, oh yeah, no, the only big thing that I'm involved in that makes money and all of what I am is founded on? You can take that over and I'm cool. I'm not gonna be super weird on Twitter about it. That doesn't make any sense any more than it would Trump endorsing someone. And it is true that were he to be fired, there would be the cultists would get mad. Some of them might be board members. They do seem to really like him there, even though he's undoubtedly hurting their corporation. And he does have a fan base. Less than he used to. Approval polls show that he's widely disliked across America, but some people do like him. And some of them might even be customers. I feel like he's shed a lot more potential customers than he's gained on Twitter or Joe Rogan or whatever, but I could be wrong. And one of these, this is the University of Michigan business professor, Eric Gordon said, if you don't want to tank the company, you bring in somebody who's going to make good on his vision, Musk's vision. And that's where I want to pause for a sec, Brett, because like they would all say that. And I get that Elon Musk, obviously, like he's not a coder, he's not an engineer, he doesn't know this stuff, but like he's supposed to be a hype man and an image man. And there certainly are some big things he's made them do, like he made them do the Cybertruck. He's the one who makes them have people walk around in robot costumes and pretend that that's a product they're gonna release. And so I guess as much as I wanna say he doesn't have a vision, I suppose he does have a vision, but does following that vision of hype and vaporware, is that actually what the corporation needs? Or could you'd have a shock to the system if you forced him out and the cultists wouldn't like it, but a lot of libs would suddenly probably be okay with Tesla again. And then they could just go back to like making cars and having good charging infrastructure. That's not as sexy, but isn't that better business?
Well, it depends. Like Elon Musk has zero interest in he has every reason not to tank the stock price of Tesla. So Elon's entire fortune pretty much is leveraged. All of his worth is leveraged again, and his companies are leveraged against the value of Tesla stock. That's how he takes loans out to do stuff like buy Twitter. So he needs Tesla stock to stay high. So there's two things that are bad for him. One of his central company is in financial trouble because of his actions. And two, if it goes too far, then he jeopardizes everything else in his loans and the bank comes and takes it. Now they probably wouldn't because he's been able to convince them a lot that he's got it on lock or whatever. But Elon Musk, what I think, will try to find some kind of tasteful way to say, actually, I am either leaving my job in the government to go once again take up the mantle of being the CEO of Tesla, having learned a lot, now rebranding myself within a box that allows me to protect the only thing that is important to him, or the thing that's most important to him, which is Tesla stock. I think that's kind of where he's at right now.
Yeah, and again, look, that's the thing that's underlying this that's bothering me so much is like I'm obviously not a businessman or whatever, and I don't know cars any more than Elon Musk fundamentally knows cars or whatever. Again, remember, he's the one that thought that the Cybertruck would be like the next big thing, and that clearly isn't panning out in terms of the sales. But the stock market also, it's so utterly ridiculous because we have Tesla, which its stock is at here, okay? And because Musk bought Trump wins, so the stock goes up, okay? Because I guess because Musk has more power, maybe you could say some people think that, well, he'll manipulate the law and regulations to benefit Tesla, which he's certainly trying to do, and that could benefit the company. Okay, that's fair. That could actually have an effect on the business. And then like Elon Musk is hated, so the stock goes down or whatever. And then maybe it goes back up and then maybe it goes down. And so you look at that and you think of that, as like that's the effect of Musk. The good and the bad is it goes up and down. But the issue is that it is so wildly higher than it has any reason to be, way beyond the ups and downs. Like it is, according to the stock market, it's the biggest car company in the world. And we'll get to some of those stats in just a sec. And the issue is that, like in my mind, what a CEO who wasn't a ridiculous liar who's gonna turn people off with his anti-Semitic hand gestures and everything could come in and do would be to like, come out with a cheaper Tesla or whatever, or double down on their charging infrastructure rather than canning the entire team like Musk did and then frantically hired them back. And those are things that I think would be rational moves that would rationally make the stock price go up in a rational stock market. But it has been for so many years existing in utter fantasy land that like doing the transition from where they're at to a reasonable car company that can succeed or fail on the merits would be such whiplash that I don't think they'd ever be willing to do it. I don't know. What do you think about that? Again, I'm not a business guy.
Well, yeah. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's think of, I don't know, I'll talk about golf. Like there's different kinds of golfers, right? There's people who hit the ball super duper far and that's kind of their approach to golf. And then there's people who are nice and easy going and they just kind of get it there a little bit and they're super accurate. The same applies to business people, right? There's the business people like Elon Musk who basically just market. They're hype men. They try to get the capital. They try to attract the capital by being flashy and the investors. And they kind of, in business, that's one way of going. And then the other one's the boring people. The boring ones like Warren Buffett who are like, when the stock goes down and everything else seems okay, I buy it. I have a friend who's wildly successful at business. He's the most low-key anti-Elon Musk person. He ran like BuzzFeed video and he was like, I really want to make nice movies, but the thing that sadly people will watch more than anything is us making salads. So here's a room where we film us making salads, and more people are gonna see this that I make than anything else. It's a very practical.
Was that really approach. The example?
That's really him. He's like, it's us making. It was like BuzzFeed, that thing. Brilliant, smart guy. Has always done that kind of stuff and never really had to lie about the upside of the future of his business. But that doesn't. Like there's a major category of people that just have to huckster and lie and do pitches until it's real. Now I hate to admit it, I identify more with the guy from the video example than the Elon Musk person, but there are wildly successful people that have to just kind of make it up until it becomes huge. The upside of that is those are the ones that push you further than you think you can go. It's a sad thing, everyone hates it. A version of this is the dad who's like, I'm sorry I ran out on you, but it made you become a better person. You became stronger because I went for cigarettes and never came back. That's the other thing. But then the flip side of it is they just turn out to be wild charlatans. And sometimes they are actual charlatans. They just hired the right people and they can now catch rockets on chopsticks like Elon Musk. It's difficult, but the stock market doesn't know. The business people don't know for sure what that stuff is. And there are analysts and they're just making their best guesses. And there's a lot of larger actors in the business who like make a bunch of stock volume purchases on behalf of their clients. That's like the private wealth managers and stuff. And those guys are trying to make the safe bets. Sometimes they get in over their head. They just took the bait. And they just got to stick it out. And because of that, that can fulfill the prophecy from the charlatan because the wise people show up. And that's kind of what's happening with Twitter right now. The wise people are like, yes, we know he's been saying we should have all had like multi-unit apartments on Mars by now. But we're really into this with a lot of our value. And we're betting on it to be the future, but he's kind of screwing it up. So we do have to be the adults that swoop in and get him not to do this anymore.
Yeah, I will end on this note. Slate sort of postulates a possible solution to this very difficult position, which is Musk brings all of these issues to Tesla, but getting rid of him might just be a non-starter for economic reasons, for perception reasons, or whatever. So they say there is also the matter that Musk will eventually die, maybe even sooner rather than later. He has used a bunch of recreational drugs and sometimes looks at public appearances as if he's not of sound mind. I can attest to that. He appears to sleep very little. He himself has claimed, though not with evidence, that he's the #2 assassination target after Trump. Does this seem like a CEO whose directors wouldn't or shouldn't keep an eye towards a succession plan? Yeah, Elon Musk, my guess would be, will either live to like 130 years old by gradually replacing parts of his body with robot parts, or taking implants from the peasants or something. Or alternatively, he's such a weird guy that like you could wake up tomorrow and some strange thing happened that he did. I don't want to speculate specifically because I don't want to get sued or whatever, but like he's one of those strange little weirdos that God only knows what'll end up happening. But as for now, we might be stuck with him. He owns a good amount of the stock. I think people overestimate how much of Tesla he actually owns or whatever, but it's still a significant amount, and they are in a difficult position. Unlikely to get better because he is unlikely to do anything to rehabilitate his image.